readings, resolution number 8348-24. Mr. Corley.
This resolution adopts the City of Hoover Architectural Standards and Design Guidebook.
Motion to approve resolution number 8348-24.
Second. Having a motion and a second. Mr. Knighton, your name is by this item, and Mr. Martin, I think you'll be assisting.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time this evening. As I've been working with MAC over the years on various economic development projects and developments in the city, it's become clear to us that having a set of architectural and design guidelines for base zoning districts will be very helpful in our efforts to create a sense of place here in the City of Hoover. It's not unusual to have developers ask us what the city would like to see when they're working on a new development or extensive remodel. And when the city's incentivizing a project, it's imperative that we work with the developer to create a strong sense of place within that development. This process is much more clear when we're working within a planned unit development or a PUD, which you're all familiar with. The guidelines there are already set, and each PUD has a distinctive look and feel. In order to provide a tool for staff and developers, staff began working with members of our Downtown Redevelopment Authority and Commercial Development Authority last year on this project. We have members of those bodies here tonight, and I appreciate all of their help on that. And a special thanks to Christy Driver for encouraging this when she was on the DRA and as she sat on the council as well. We engaged the KPS group, which compiled Hoover's comprehensive plan, to work with us on this project. Mr. Jason Fondren is here tonight as well. We involved key stakeholders from neighborhood groups, the development community, as we developed guidelines and standards. And the resulting product from these processes is what you have in front of you this evening. Two documents, a set of guidelines and a set of standards for base zoning areas with a special focus on Bluff Park, Highway 31, and Lorna Road. The guidelines document is just that. They're just guidelines. It provides descriptive suggestions for what the city would like to see in terms of architectural materials, site layout, and connectivity, and more for non-single family based zoning districts. Now we're able to answer questions intelligently when we're asked what the city would like to see in terms of a development. Similarly, there's a standards document that provides more prescriptive language that can be used when the city is providing incentives to a project. The planning and economic development offices will be able to work together jointly to have a PUD-like set of standards that the incentivized developer must adhere to as they're designing and building out their project. Flexibility, though, is key in the use of these standards so that Hoover can continue to be a pro-business city. The Commercial Development Authority and the Downtown Redevelopment Authority have passed resolutions endorsing these documents, and tonight we're asking that council consider doing the same.
Any questions from the council?
Only comment I'll make is I know that over the last couple of years there's been a lot of discussion about having some consistency on the architectural theme of areas. Remember, we always have to spend time, Councilman Middlebrook, we're, working to negotiate the storage unit right there on 150 and Ross Bridge, trying to make sure it looked a certain type of way. So I am glad all the hard work has went into this effort, also with the different boards to try to make some consistency in the City of Hoover.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
When does, after this vote, does it go in immediately or a certain date in the future or what?
It will go into effect immediately, yes, sir.
Does that mean like current developments in those areas, would they have to be under these new guidelines or?
No, only if they're receiving incentives would they have to go under the guidelines. It would just simply be, right now, these would be as people come in and we're meeting with them and they ask us. It's not uncommon, as Matt can attest to, for us to have developers who come to us with extensive remodels and just say, what would the city like to see? Okay. It gives us a document we can hand back to them.
All right, thank you.
I just want to thank their team for all the hard work. Look, I poured over this document earlier today and kind of wore Greg and Jason and Mac, all of them out on shooting emails back and forth with a lot of questions. But in the end, I felt very satisfied by what you guys have presented to us. You answered my questions about permeable surfaces, wheelchair accessible, universal designs, making sure that the business community had a hand in this through focus groups that were well attended. So you guys put a lot of effort into this, and I appreciate the hard work.
Thank you. Big thanks to again, back to the Commercial Development Authority and the Downtown Redevelopment Authority. They were critical in this effort as well.
Mr. President, I did want to also recognize James Robinson is on the Downtown Redevelopment Board as well, too, chairman of that. So thank you for being here.
Any further questions from the council?
Just a quick comment. Congratulations on reaching this result, assuming
Thank
that we adopted. And I know it's been a couple of years of a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and people don't always get to see or know all that goes on to pull something like this off, but it's going to benefit us going forward with having a more cohesive standard across the board, and acknowledging that we do have, you know, some distinctive areas like Bluff Park and others that already have a look, and helping encourage that we continue to keep that historical perspective. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
I think that's everyone, isn't it? Do you have any other questions? Okay. Any questions from the audience? Yes, sir. And then second. Come on down.
Robin Schultz, Bluff Park. There were two comments made, one by Mr. Knighton, said that stakeholders were involved in this, specific stakeholders, and specifically since this deals with Bluff Park, I assume Bluff Park stakeholders. And Dr. Millbrook said that focus groups were involved. It would be fair to say that Bluff Park is a very involved community. We are engaged. We know what's going on in our community. We heard nothing about this. We heard nothing. Who were the stakeholders? When were the focus groups? How were they announced? This impacts Bluff Park directly, obviously, with whatever the guidelines are. But nothing was mentioned to us. And again, we're very engaged. I think we're one of the most engaged communities in Hoover. We're one of the top being engaged. Why were we not somehow an announcement made that this would be happening? We had the venue for having meetings and things like this. Wouldn't it be fair to bring it to our attention? Is the only comment I have on this. And perhaps you can continue this until the community, the directly impacted communities like Bluff Park, could hear what is happening, and the whole community give input, not just a certain focus group and who we don't know who they are, or stakeholders who we really don't know who they are. Thank you.
Yes, sir. There was another comment. Come on up.
Jim Massengale, 600 Emory Drive, Hoover. Thank you for letting me speak. Good evening. I'm the Director of Development for Broad Metro, and we're a commercial real estate firm, proven track record of delivering transformative projects across the country. Locally, we're proud of our Stadium Trace Village project. Generates approximately $70 million annually in taxable revenue. I'm here tonight to address this resolution 834824, which seeks to adopt additional new architectural standards and design guidebooks. We fully support raising the standards for developments. In fact, we have been in front of this curve with a lot of the things that we've done in Hoover: wider sidewalks, addressing storm drainage issues, permeable surfaces, and also we're fully on board with those things. However, we're a little bit concerned. We're a major stakeholder in Hoover, and we're concerned that who really had input in the feedback and all to develop this. Developers, who really had that feedback? We didn't have that feedback. We're a major stakeholder here, and we foster. We think these guidelines will foster development and all if they're done properly. Secondly though, Councilman Lyda has made public statements that you know, we will not, certain developers won't be welcomed in Hoover. And so should we interpret these guidelines that we've not had an opportunity to participate in as the developer that would execute what is planned? Would these things, guidelines really be used to weaponize the city to work against developers? And you know, so actions like these raise serious questions, whether the city is advancing good guidelines to promote business, or we working on personal vendettas and opportunities that to work with developers that were referred to as those that we would like to do business with. And so we're concerned about that. We'd like to see this motion carried over to have an opportunity to have input and see who, you know, maybe somebody can answer who had the input from the development community that have major stakeholders. You know, we have Tattersall, you know, Stadium Trace Village, the River Chase project. So I don't know if that's a question I can ask.
I think what we'll do is, since that question, you've asked that question, Robin's raised that question, we'll let Greg speak to that. I would say to one of the things you said about the comments made by Councilman Lyda, remember that his one vote out of 7. And I would say that unless you were hearing that from the entire body up here, I would not be concerned about the comments of one vote out of 7 in terms of who can and cannot develop in Hoover. Greg, do you want to speak to the involvement and stakeholders and those kind of things?
Sure. So we have a smaller group of developers, or smaller developers, I should say. Watts Realty and Development Company, Hancock Construction, Kelly Architect, Chris Rebels, and Tim Aho were all part of that discussion with us. We didn't include some of the developments that Mr. Massengill was referring to because they're planned unit developments. So they already have a set of guidelines and standards that they adhere to. We're simply talking about base zoning areas of the city with a key focus, as I mentioned, on Bluff Park, on Lorna Road, and on Highway 31, but they can be used throughout the city. But those are where the key focus areas were. And as to who was there, I cannot remember who from Bluff Park was at the meeting. We reached out and asked people who were vocal in the community to be part of it. It was simply impossible to have an open meeting and have all the input to get the work done in the amount of time that we would have liked to, but we tried to be as inclusive as we could be in that process.
Thank you for that. And any further questions from the council on this item, based on these responses, based on the questions from the public? Anyone else from the audience care to speak on this item? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion carries.